America is home to 33 million small businesses, the beating heart of communities across the country.
And proof that the American dream is still alive.
This is a show about those dreamers and doers and the communities they serve.
Their real life stories.
Their struggles and successes.
Their grit, determination, and passion.
And the people who fight
to keep their American dream alive.
I'm Alfredo Ortiz.
I'm Elaine Parker.
And it's time for another episode of Main Street Matters,
America's small business megaphone.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Main Street Matters, America's small business megaphone. I'm Elaine Parker with the Job Creators Network. Today, we are joined by Andy Ross. Andy is a country and patriotic rock artist, former national TV host, and the founder and CEO of American Rebel, a fast-growing company producing guns, gun safes, beer, and patriotic apparel. From building businesses to building a brand rooted in freedom and faith, Andy represents a bold vision of the American dream in action. Andy, thanks for joining us.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I've been reading a lot about you, and you have such a unique journey from music to television, entrepreneurship. What sparked all of this into business? And, usually it starts from some, like, I got fired and then I picked up my bootstraps and I showed them all. So what is your background on that one?
You know, it's a story that I've been blessed to leave. It actually started with a passion for bow hunting. Growing up in a small town in southeast Kansas, I did a lot of as a kid, and junior high, we did a lot of upland bird hunting and duck hunting and turkey hunting. And as I got a little older, I got into archery and bow hunting, and had this idea one day that a friend of mine could come on a couple of my hunts with me and film my hunts, and he could do some editing, and we got together and kind of made a DVD with about four of my hunts on the DVD, and it landed in the hands of the Outdoor Channel. And I ended up with an opportunity to do my own TV show, which became Maximum Archery World Tour. And I did the show for 10 years on outdoor TV. While I was doing it, I had this idea that not just the hunts, but we would also film the travel and the camaraderie and, going in and out of some bars and some towns and places we probably had no business being in, and trying to find places to do laundry and, crossing borders and getting tags. And I thought, it'd be kind of fun too if I could do some music on the show, give myself some unique, music to my show and to my brand. And we kind of became like one of the first reality shows, and it all worked. And I knew my way around a guitar a little bit and could sing and write a little bit. So I wrote these songs for the TV show: Gotta Go Hunting Blues, Hunt Me Down, Buck of a Lifetime, Blood Trail on a Whitetail, Support Your Local Wildlife. And I really did intend for them to just enhance the show, to give the show a rock and roll edge, to use the songs in and out of commercials and when we were running the credits and during the opener. But what I didn't know was the internet was going to explode, file sharing was a thing, and here came iTunes. And the next thing I knew, I had this music, going everywhere. I had other TV shows using the music, and it further, just kept getting more and more exposure to the point where Nashville called. And I was getting reached, as people reaching out from Zach Brown to Blake Shelton to Lee Bryce, Chris Jansen, Davison Brothers, and they said, "Hey, we really love your show and would love to be a guest on your show and go hunting with you, make an appearance. And by the way, your music, it's okay, but if you want to come to Nashville and let's write a song." So I had no idea the DVD was going to lead to a TV show. The TV show was going to lead to a music career. Ended up in Nashville. I've been here 17 years. I'm still right now recording the 4th album. And, I just had an opportunity to work with great people, great writers, producer Doug Grau, who, produced all the Little Texas records, Travis Tritt records, the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. And 2015, I had an album out called Time to Fight. And on that album was a song called American Rebel. A friend of mine, an entrepreneur, Corey Lambert, heard it and said, "Hey, we should build a brand around that." And we did. We started the company in 2015, and here we are today. So it doesn't start with me getting fired. It starts with me probably skipping school and going hunting. But Anyway, it started with a passion for bow hunting, and it's been a great blessing the whole ride.
Well, that is really a lot of fun, actually, and how one thing begot another thing, the next step, the next step, and the next step. When you were taking American Rebel and creating a brand around it, what kind of risks, do you feel like you took that maybe other people wouldn't take? Because it's a big change for you, although obviously you're used to change. But what kind of risks do you think you could point to that kind of made that moment for you?
Well, the idea of American Rebel was to build a brand around the song. It was a song first, and the song was the mission statement for the brand and kind of the character of the brand. And when you're out, when you're used to having a show and you get compensated for that show, you've got music, you're playing, you're being compensated for the music and playing. There's risks involved, but you're going to get paid. You're going to come home with a couple dollars in your pocket in the worst case scenario. So when you start a brand and all of a sudden you go from taking care of yourself to realizing you've got to hire some employees, you need help, and you need good people. Trust me, you got to have good people with work ethic, and they need paid. And so you go from just being kind of taking care of yourself to all of a sudden where we sit today with 210 employees. But you have to that's taking care of yourself is a little risky in your own business, but having the responsibility of taking care of others that have families, that are having children, that are buying their first home, and realizing that their income comes from you making good decisions at the company and their hard work as well.
Yeah, we always talk about when you're a small business owner, you have this family of employees,
Yeah.
and you feel this, not necessarily a burden, but you do feel a weight to make the right decisions, because you've got people depending on you to feed their families, and it is a huge responsibility to lead that effort. Um, but I also think it helps when you are close with your employees that you can sort of share that vision and help them understand so they have a stake in the game, to wanna see that success as much as possible too.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, a lot of people will go to work for a company that's been around 50 plus years. If you went to work at UPS tomorrow, if you went to work at Walmart tomorrow, John Deere tomorrow, a lot of they're great jobs and they're great companies and they have great histories, um, and you should feel job security, I guess. But at the same time, the people's bread who's going to be buttered in them companies have already happened. So you as a taking a risk as an employee, a person seeking a job, do they seek out 100% security, or do they seek out an opportunity? Hey, if I help this company grow, I'll be the one with some stock and some stock options and the raises and the guy that the promotions. So it takes a risk to start a business, but it also is a risk to have an employee, someone want to come on and be the part of a team and really dedicate themselves to a company that's an upstart company. And we've had some people that have done that. They deserve a lot of credit for the success of American Rebel, and I hope they feel that we're taking care of them as they deserve.
I hear the consistency of small business owners with their employees. You sound very much speaking the same language. But American Rebel, it's not just a company; it's become a movement. From what I've seen and what I've read, what is the mission of American Rebel?
Well, again, the mission statement's the song. It all started with the music. But we told everybody day one that American Rebel, before we even knew what product we were going to make, we started the company to be America's patriotic brand. I want to see American Rebel tools. I want to see American Rebel grills, American Rebel beer, American Rebel motor oil, wheelbarrows, pool cues, dog food. I want Susie to go up to Mom and say, "Mom, what's Dad want for Father's Day?" And she says, "Honey, anything with American Rebel on it." It's a lifestyle brand. And we launched with our concealed carry clothing, backpacks, coats, jackets. We moved into gun safes in 2019. We ended up purchasing our OEM manufacturer in 2022. And about a year and a half ago, we launched America's patriotic, God-fearing, Constitution-loving, national anthem singing, stand your ground beer. And we've done that to overwhelming success. So we're starting to see the vision of a lifestyle brand. Here we are coming up on 11 years later, and it takes time. You have I don't know, that 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. Sometimes I think it's 2 step forward and 1.5 step backward. But you just keep going and keep pushing, and we're real thankful to be where we're at.
So you said a year and a half, you launched the beer, and
Yes.
you've seen tremendous success. You're in 17 states now.
Yes,
Um,
we're in 18. So
eight.
we've grown since you got the memo. But yes, we're in 18 states.
Well, I checked, and you are in Florida, so I do have an opportunity to try the beer as well. But I also love that you just launched your limited edition 250th anniversary Patriot Pack. So great timing to be able to participate from a branding perspective, to be able to participate in America 250. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, we're excited for that. We had the idea to do that and leaned into it. I've got numerous opportunities to play 250 celebration events this year. So we're looking forward to doing that. I'm trying to play states where we do have the beer, so that the beer's at the events. I'm playing in Gainesville, the Gainesville Nationals down in Florida. On the 7th, I think, of this month, whatever that Saturday is, for the NHRA race down there. And on Sunday, I'm playing the opening season monster bike rally at a place called the Twisted Fork.
Twisted Fork.
Down in Florida. So we're looking forward to getting back down there. And I'm glad you can get the beer. I mentioned when we were talking off camera that I just spent quite a lot of time down there in Florida. Actually, two complete weeks, a week apart. So I was down there for a week. I came back and back down there for a week. And we were setting up the distribution. We have a large percentage of the Anheuser-Busch network down there distributing our beer. We've also set up Winn-Dixie's, Total Wine. So we're already in some chains, rolling out in a lot of on-premise and off-premise locations. So it shouldn't be hard to find.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I want to ask you a couple questions that are more on the policy side or the business environment side. How has the inflation and some of the regulatory side of things impacted the beer business?
We see it in the beer business, and the price of aluminum fluctuates, the price of packaging. It's the regulations of taxation and alcohol is a big deal, and probably the one that we notice mostly, just fluctuating, is the transportation, the shipping of the product, moving it out of our brewery and our warehouses and getting it across the country. That fluctuates almost daily, certainly weekly. I know you asked the question about the beer, but I'll also say on the gun safe side of gun safe manufacturing, there's a lot of regulations around paint and finish. The price of steel moves around, all the time. I mean, you see metal buildings, how expensive they can get. Well, we're purchasing U.S. steel to build our safes with, and that can really fluctuate in just a short period of time and change the cost of the safe. Could go up $600-800 just because of the price of steel moving around.
I didn't think about that. Have the tariffs impacted that side of the business?
Well, we manufacture here in the U.S. in Provo, Utah, so we don't have a lot of tariffs around that. We do have a factory in Nogales, Mexico, just across the Arizona border, but since we ship U.S. steel in there, we're able to ship it back out, and we're not affected by tariffs. But it has had an impact on a lot of our competitors that are bringing product in from the Orient, and I'm not mad at them.
Well, I think that was the goal, is to bring the manufacturing back. Some of the goal was to bring it, not just to level the playing field with other countries on the tariffs, but also to bring back the manufacturing. And since we're already here, it was a non-issue for you.
Yeah, I mean, we really pride ourselves on the product. We put out of Provo, Utah. There, some of the, in our opinion, the finest gun safes made, and quality, and 120-minute fire ratings, and we just we're really proud of our finish and the the paint job we put on them, and two-stage automotive, and so it takes quality workers who are dedicated, and we found we have a good pocket of people there in Provo.
Excellent. Well, I ask every small business owner this, especially since the one big beautiful bill passed last year, the tax cuts, and I think the greatest success of that bill was averting a $4.5 trillion tax increase on Americans. That's the greatest success. So, of course, none of us are actually going to feel that because it didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Um, but some of the provisions that came back, in terms of helping business with, making the lower tax rates permanent, bringing back immediate expensing. So if you're going to invest in the business, are you making some big plans this year or even next year to expand and build more operations in the U.S.?
Yeah, absolutely. Our beer is not only manufactured in the U.S., of course, but it's also all sourced with ingredients from the U.S. It's the only light beer on the market that doesn't use corn syrup and rice extract. We use two-row barley, all sourced here in the U.S. So we try not to only make the product here, obviously distribute the product here, but as well as source all the ingredients from here. And a lot of the beer companies and our competitors are owned by companies overseas and sourced from different places, and to get a cheaper cost on ingredients. So we're real proud to put that 250 on the can. We think we deserve it, and we think that we represent what's on the can and in the can represent the country well. But yeah, the plan is to grow and continue to expand. I mentioned earlier, I'm playing the NHRA race down in Florida coming up here on the 7th of March. And we do a lot with the NHRA. I play a lot of their races, and they serve our beer at the track. And, there's a lot of really hardworking people that attend those races that are fans of motorsports. And it makes a difference, if they've got just a few extra bucks in their pocket, or a little bit of a raise, or a tax saving, or an auto payment loan, and we see it firsthand with product sales, and sales at the track. And it goes a long way. It goes a long way when people can get a break.
Well, I mean, I love the provisions that directly impact middle class Americans, even lower income Americans, with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. I mean, that is absolutely putting more money back in people's pockets. And because of that, actually, they're anticipating larger refunds. And people are, after this weekend, they're see sort of the biggest rush of the first filings for tax returns. And for folks who are expecting a bigger return, I mean, I think it's great for them.
Well, hopefully when they get that return, and they're get that big tax return, they feel like celebrating, and they go out and find some Rebel Lights.
Exactly. Well, you entered very crowded markets. I mean, the beer market, you have to admit, is a pretty crowded market, and you're seeing such great success. What advice would you give to somebody who is thinking about starting a business today?
I think, and my advice may not match other businessmen and people who built bigger companies, bigger than mine, but just coming from my own personal experience, I think that you really do have to be passionate about what you're doing, and ask yourself, would you do this for almost nothing if you weren't turning it into a business? I mean, I had the opportunity to go out and play music and do these things, and yes, I would go play tomorrow for free if it meant that was the only way I could play. I love playing music. I love writing music, and we were able to build a business around a song. And I love sharing the American Rebel story, the American Rebel brand, and would do it, gladly, every day of my life. So to find something that you're that passionate about, you'll have people ask you, because it will take this. People will ask you all the time, "What's it like working, 10 and 12 hours a day?" Well, I can tell you, if it feels like work, it wouldn't be much fun. And if it doesn't feel like work, you don't really care if it's 10, 12, or 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. Um, So make sure you enjoy it. Make sure you're dedicated to it, and just put your head down and go.
I think that's great advice. How do you think we can encourage more Americans, especially younger people? Because we tend to see a lot of younger people who have more liberal views and really have an attraction to a more socialistic type of economy. So, how do you think we sort of attract younger people to want to move towards entrepreneurism and open businesses?
Well, we live in a free country. We're free to go into business. You're free to be able to do this podcast. You're free with the blessing of freedom of speech. I'm allowed to write a song and use freedom of speech. And I guess the mystery to me is, if you're going to live in a country where you can do all these things that are possible, why wouldn't you try it? Why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you do this podcast and put it out there to the people? Why wouldn't I, swing for the fence and try something? Imagine living somewhere where you couldn't. And then, I understand if you're restricted from doing things in a country unlike ours, why you wouldn't do it. But if you're given the permission slip to do it, and even some forgiveness if you were to fail at doing it, why wouldn't you take the chance? And I'd like to see more young entrepreneurs get out there. I do think I'm starting to see anyway, a little bit of a swing in young people. There's some of the more conservative groups of young kids are starting up at colleges, and we're seeing a little more. I'm seeing a younger audience come up and start talking to me. Young men and women, and I encourage them.
Questions are they asking you when you're talking to them?
What's that beer taste like? I tell them it tastes like freedom.
Love it.
They'll come up and ask, how did you get started? How old were you when you started? How did you go about, maybe expanding and funding? Just a variety of questions. They mainly just want to talk to you, not a lot of specific questions. And they want to tell you their story, and they want to tell you what they're thinking about doing. And they want you to be excited, try to be excited for them and listen to their story, and kind of reconfirm their idea. That sounds great. That sounds like a great idea, give them some encouragement. But yeah, they'll come up to us at shows and around the track and emails and, a variety of way of reaching out.
Well, what's so neat about American Rebel is it stems from a song. And so every time you get on the stage, you get to tell the story of how you got to where you are through that song. And so I could see there being a great connection from people who would want to come up and talk to you about their passions and get your insight and again, have you be excited for them on what they're passionate about.
Yeah, it really is a lot of fun and a blessing. I get up on stage, I get to play music. I always do one of the hunting songs, usually Blood Trail on a Whitetail, because I still have a fan base from the TV show that want to hear a couple of those older songs. I didn't mention earlier, but my music caught the attention of Danny the Count Coker. It landed me on Counting Cars on the History Channel, where Danny built me the Second Amendment muscle car. It was a very popular, most watched episode, best paint, best of show, so it reruns all the time. And so I got the hot rod guys, I got the hunting crowd, the NHRA crowd, and the rock and roll, the Patriot crowd. So I'm up there. I get to tell the story. A lot of it I tell through music, and I will set up a song. And then I get, as of the last year and a half, I get to look out in the crowd and see everybody, with a Rebel light in their hand, and I've written a beer jingle. I'll play the beer jingle, and so it's really cool to see. It's really rewarding. I'm looking forward to getting started again. We've been off for these months in Florida and through the winter, so I'm looking forward to getting down to Florida.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about your American Dream story. Can you tell everybody where they can follow you on social media, and also where they can find out where you're going to be playing?
I can. Real quick, I want to say, growing up as a little kid, my mom had a clothing store in Chanute, Kansas called Denim Depot on Main Street. So I love Main Street Matters. A lot of good things can come from Main Street. So I appreciate what you do. AndyRoss.com is where you can find my music. AmericanRebel.com is where you can find our concealed carry products, safe products, and of course, AmericanRebelBeer.com is where you can learn more about Rebel Light. You must be 21.
Exactly. Well, Andy, thanks so much for taking the time to join us on Main Street Matters, America's Small Business Megaphone. Main Street Matters is part of the Salem Podcast Network. New episodes debut every Wednesday and Friday. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast from, and we'll be back soon with another episode. Bye for now.